Hey, this is Bill from Calderwood Percussion, and I wanted to show you one of the tools that is specific to our shop. In the process of building drums, there's a lot of things that we do that are different from kind of normal woodworking processes. A lot of it has to do just with the fact that we're always working on things that are, almost always working on things that are round. The majority of woodworking tools are set up based on making sure that 90-degree angles stay absolutely perfect, because kind of all your joinery is based off of that, and everything is referencing those perfect squares. But when you're making drums, that's not so much a thing for us, and so we have a lot of custom tools, a lot of custom jigs that we use. One of the things is this motorized sanding table. So before you can cut bearing edges on a drum shell, you need the edges to be totally flat or true. And the way we used to do that is by having just a big adhesive piece of sandpaper on a really flat table and then just kind of wrestling with the drum on the sandpaper, and that got old. Also, it was never really as accurate as I wanted. So this is a tempered glass tabletop that I found on Craigslist a while back, and this is very, very flat. And on either side of this are very, very large sanding discs from like a large industrial disc sander. So 30-inch pieces of sandpaper. This side is 80 grit. This side is 120 grit. These are adhesive back, so they're just attached directly to this glass surface. And every once in a while we have to take these off and scrape the glass so it's dead flat again and replace them. But we just try to keep them as clean as possible to get them to last as long as we can. On the edges of this tempered glass, you can see this is tom trim, like what you'd find on the bottom of marching tenors. And we put that there just so, if this was, before we made this motorized table, we'd have to wheel this around the shop all the time because it's kind of big and heavy and get in the way a lot. And we didn't want the edges to chip on the stone floor of the shop, so we put this tom trim on. But again, after a few years of wrestling with drum shells by hand on this thing, we got pretty sick of it and decided we needed a motorized version. So Bill Sr. came up with this awesome contraption. There's a 1.5 horsepower motor under there, and a bunch of like conveyor belt roller bearings underneath this to allow it to spin, and just a couple of blocks to keep the glass surface in place. And the glass is heavy enough, and this tom trim has enough friction that once this thing gets going, the tabletop really stays put. And so whether we're doing coarse sanding or finer sanding on drum shell edges, whether it's just to make the bottom of concert toms be nice and smooth, or whether it's prepping drum shells for bearing edges, this is the tool that we use. It saves a ton of time and has greatly improved the health of my shoulders. So there you have it. This is our motorized sanding table.